And today's topic, hopefully not a surprise to anybody, what's new in ForNAV 2.0. And to take us through that, I'd like to introduce Mark Brummel.
And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. And welcome to this webinar. I believe it's webinar number 4. And today we are going to talk about features that are new in ForNAV 2.0. The first feature that I want to talk to you about is actually a change in the way that we install the product and work with the DLL. With ForNAV 2.0, we actually allow side-by-side installation, and every report keeps its own reference to a version of the DLL. Currently, I have on my machine, I have build number 1199 and 1194 installed, and I can see that if I look at my converter, I can see I have build number 1199 and 1194, which I can actually convert reports to. If I go to my Explorer and go to my C drive program files and look at my NAV folder, in my NAV folder I can also see that I actually have multiple ForNAV DLLs installed, which actually allows me the option to download a new version of ForNAV, use that for a specific report or maybe for a specific issue that was added to the tool, and I can actually leave the old reports running with the old DLL. If I look at the converter again, and I have actually prepared an old sales invoice report. If I go to my ForNAV folder, I have an old sales invoice from 2009, and if I convert that report and I actually target ForNAV version 1194, and if I convert the report and then open the converted report, you can see that the ForNAV version is actually 1194, and if I search for that version, you can also see that the .NET control is pointing to that specific build of ForNAV. This allows you to also keep different customers on different versions of ForNAV. And then when you do some support for that specific customer, you just target that build in the converter. If I change my ForNAV to the current build, which is 1199, if I convert again and then look at the report, you can see that it's updated to 1199, which is now also the build number of the DLL. Another thing we have changed to the converter is the way that we work with format address. Some of you may have noticed that if I convert an old invoice and I convert it to NAV 2015 or 2016, if you open such a report in NAV 2017, let's just import that converted file. If I design this report and if I actually compile my report, I get this error message that the array dimensions must be identical, because someone at Microsoft actually decided to make a change to a function that hasn't been changed in 25 years, rather than creating a second version of this function and just keeping the old one as it is. If you convert customers from older versions to 2017, or you just upgrade them from 2016 to 2017, just convert reports again. You can do it in batch and then target compatibility NAV 2017. If you convert the report again and then import the text file again. If I now design my report and if I hit the compiler again, then you see the compiler is not complaining, because we actually upgrade that that specific version to work with the new code unit 365. So those are changes that we did to the converter. Let's switch to the designer and some enhancements that we made for the ForNAV designer in version 2. Let's start by creating a new report. If we create a new report, you can see that this is the customer list that we've been working with, and one of the things that we've added is standard captions. These are standard captions that everyone needs if they work in an ERP environment. Words like continued, copy, including and excluding tax or VAT, page number, total and subtotal. These captions are automatically translated into the 20 languages that NAV ships with, and I can actually drag one of those controls in, nicely align it to existing controls using the snapping. And let's just make it a little bit bigger, and let's make it gray. And now let's say I want copy to be diagonal instead of like it is now. Let's go to the properties. I switch the properties to alphabetical because this property actually starts with an A. This is the angle, and I can actually change the angle to 45 degrees. And now copy will be printed diagonal rather than horizontal. So this is a property that was requested a number of times by partners, and it's been introduced now in NAV, in ForNAV version 2. Another request that we get very frequently is to use watermarks. Using watermarks was already possible using the bullzip enhanced PDF features. But that, as you may know, only works if you save the report to a PDF file and then send it to a customer or print it. Now we have a native watermark support. Let's switch back to categorized, but then it's on the top. It's a report property, and I can actually have some options if I click on the assist edit. And I have two options. I can just put in a text or a picture, and the text can be like, welcome to the ForNAV 2.0 webinar. I hit OK, and let's just drag in some controls to see that we actually have something real to look at here. Let's expand the list and just drag in some controls. Let's save the object in NAV, close the designer, find the report and run it. Now if I preview the report, now you can see that I have my nice watermark printed in my report. Of course, we also support using graphical images. If I run my report again and then design the report, I can go back to the same property, which is now saying text because I have a text watermark. Can clear the text and go to picture. To guarantee the best results, we recommend using a PDF with vector images. And I have prepared one for this webinar. Let's see what this looks like. If we preview this report now, well, it's a little bit green. Now we have someone from Ireland on the call, so this is for you, Tim. Nice green, saying hello world. I just created this PDF in Word, and this actually sizes with the paper size of your ForNAV report. Let's actually remove this because it is really green. So let's clear it. So we actually are back at the white background. Another request that we've been getting is to be a little bit more flexible with some simple programming inside the ForNAV report without having to go to CAL. So we have some enhanced JavaScript possibilities. To use JavaScript, we have a couple of triggers that you can use, and the first one is on pre-report. On pre-report, for example, I can declare a variable. So let's take the most popular variable name in the world, I, and let's make it 1. So now we can use the variable I in our report, and then we can actually go to the body, and let's replace the name to fields. Let's use my arrow icon here, and let's just replace it with I. I'm going to print the value of I. And of course, I don't want to just print number 1 everywhere. I actually want to print the line number or the customer number or the number of customers that I have. And in order to do that, I have to increment my my variable, and I can do that in 2 places. I can do that in the section. I can actually do that in my section properties, but I'm going to do that now in my onPrint property. Where is it? Here's my onPrint property. Here I can also put in some JavaScript, and I can say I++, and then semicolon. And now my I variable is going to increment, and now I can actually preview my report again. You'll see that for every customer, it will just add a number and print my numbers. Of course, I have to format this as an integer, but this actually allows you to do magic like that. Another request that we got was dynamic fonts and dynamic colors of controls. You can do that with JavaScript as well. If I open my JavaScript window, I can actually add some JavaScript against my current control. Some of you who go back to Navision Classic may remember current control and then being able to format it. It's no surprise that we choose a similar format. We can actually say current control, and I'm just going to copy and paste it. You don't want to see me type this during a webinar. You say current control.font.bold is true, and then current control.forecolor is blue. And now if I save this and preview it, you can see that everything is blue and bold. But now it's just hard-coded. Let's actually code against a field in the dataset. And again, I'm just going to copy some prepared code. I have changed the value of prices including VAT for some customers in my Cronus database. So this will actually make only the customers bold that have a price including VAT. And if I now preview my report again, I have to zoom in a little bit, but you can actually see that customer number 5 and customer number 7 have prices including VAT, hence so now they are printed in bold. Another feature that we've added, let's actually save the report now. Another request that we got was to have embedded images. We can actually, if we remove this control, we can drag in the other image control, and let's make the image control a little bit bigger. If we go to the arrow, we can see that the file name on the server is still there. There was an existing property that was already there in version 1.3. The downside of this is that you actually need to have this file on the server of the customer somewhere. The good thing is that the report doesn't get bigger, but the downside is that if the file is not there, it's not going to render. So instead, I can actually point to an image, and let's go to this image that we all love. And if I now preview my report, you can see that we actually use the embedded image. This image exports with the FOB file, which means that you don't have to search for it on the customer server. Of course, this is super static. You cannot make dynamic changes to this control. Using the logo from the company information is much more flexible, but in some cases, NAV partners have vertical solutions, and for the vertical solutions, they want to print their ISV branding on the reports. And for those purposes, this is perfect because they can actually embed all of your images, and of course you can use master sections to do that, which I will show you in a minute. So now I actually want to roll back to the version that I actually had before. If I run my report now, you can actually see that now my logo is coming from the company information. Company information in my case has, let's have a look, company information, company information has the ForNAV logo. But what if I want to use a PDF, for example, or a string? I've prepared a little code unit, and this code unit actually reads the company information and imports my green watermark webinar into the company information picture. And let's see what happens to my report if I actually execute this code. I want to execute my code. I don't want to close my development environment. If I now run my report again, silence. Now we're back to using the same PDF and the PDF scales, so it actually gets to be green with Hello World again, right? So those are just some enhancements that we made to the designer, JavaScript, a lot of visual watermarks, and working with images. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about master sections and lookup fields. And in order to show you how to work with those new options, I'm going to show you a prototype of a set of reports that we are building. We get a lot of feedback that the ForNAV designer is really cool, and you can make really nice reports without making those massive data sets. But the only way to get there is to start from scratch. If you take the standard Microsoft Report 206, you convert it to ForNAV, you inherit all this gibberish, all these columns, and the same happens even worse with the Word report. The Word report, standard NAV Word report, has like 300 controls, which are hard to understand. So in order to answer that demand, we actually decided to go ahead and make some standard ForNAV document reports. These will hopefully be published soon, as soon as next month. And what we actually did is we looked at the strong design of ForNAV, and we designed reports that optimize the usage of the ForNAV controls. This means that our sales invoice actually only has 4 data items in one column. The column actually takes a return value from a code unit, and all the other controls we just inherit directly from the SQL data that we read from the data that NAV generates. If we go to the setup that we ship with this product, if we go to the ForNAV setup, you can see I have an option here, replace report selection. If you press the report selection replacement, you actually replace the standard Microsoft reports with the ForNAV reports. You can run a test, and it will actually run the test to see if we can calculate discounts and VAT based on your database. And then you can also go into design of the template. And the template is where we start leveraging the master sections. Before showing you the master sections, let me first quickly show you what the sales invoice looks like. If I print a sales invoice, you can see this prints the customer address, the company address, the standard information that we need in Europe. There's going to be a separate layout for North America. And this is printed in a way that a customer expects a report to look like in 2017. And of course, the credit memo looks exactly the same. The credit memo, I can print the credit memo, and then it looks and feels the same as the invoice. So let's go and make a change to the report, let's say the customer wants to switch the from and the to address. If I go back to my ForNAV setup, I can design my template. And if I design my template, I get into a report that has predefined sections. And these predefined sections use also a new feature that we've added to the designer, which allows you to change the names of your sections. By default, the sections are numbered. If I create a new header lines report, you can see that my header just gets to be header number 1, and if I insert another header, it's going to be header number 2. But if you are going to work with master sections, it makes sense to give them names. Maybe you have a section which shows the logo. So this is a logo section. You can see that my section name changes, and this is section which is my address. And then you can have your address section. For the standard ForNAV reports, we choose to have a document header, group footer, trans footer, line body, all those standard names. And let's actually switch the addresses around. And let's say that this address goes here, and this address goes here. And let's change the color so we can actually prove that it's really changed to green. Let's align it to the left, and let's make this one red. If I now save my template and go back to my sales invoice, if I print my sales invoice gets the change and the credit memo as well, except in the credit memo there is a small bug that the company information address is not printing yet. So I have to fix that, but you can see that it also inherits from the same template. In order to inherit from those templates, we are leveraging the new property for the master sections. If I design my invoice, you can see that the controls are a little bit yellow, which indicates that I'm using a master header. You can see that my master section is pointing to report number 6189,000, which is my master header report in our ISV number range, and it's pointing to the document header. And every one of those sections here points to the master report. So if I change the master report, all of my member reports are changed as well. So let's make another change to the master report, and let's use another new feature that we have in ForNAV. A lot of customers, they want to print meaningful descriptions. They don't want to print abbreviations like payment terms codes and currency codes. They actually want to print currency description. And normally you have to do some either some programming in CAL and add some variables in order to do that, or you have to add those data items to your data set and make your data set bigger. So what we did is we actually look at the table relations that your tables have, and all of those table relations that have table relations to other tables that have description fields and name fields, we actually allow you to look up those values without any code. So I have my currency code, of course, but I also have my currency description. Let's drag those in. So now I have my currency symbol, my currency description, and my currency code. And let's make them pink, because everybody wants to have a currency code in pink. And save the report. And now you can see if I go back to my posted sales invoice and let's remove the filter, you can see that this is local currency code. Local currency code by default is blank in an AV, but we read it from the general ledger setup. And if it is euro, it actually finds the euro in my currency table. And in my currency table, I have a description for euro. So it actually prints euro as a foreign currency code. And the Czech krona actually prints as text as well. Of course, I can also decouple the master section. If I print my credit memo, let's say my credit memo really needs to look different, and I don't want my credit memo to look at all like my invoice. I can go and design the credit memo, and I can actually decouple it from my master section. And now it actually allows me to continue designing. I can actually copy and paste controls. Let's just quickly create a new report here. Let's say that I want to have this control and I want to copy it to my existing report. I can actually copy and paste controls from one ForNAV report to another ForNAV report. The last thing that we improved is the way that we show the source expression of a control. We use tooltips for that. If I hover over controls, you can actually see that this is the header order number, this is the header document date. If I go in here, this is QReport.page, this is QReport.caption. QReport.caption is actually also something that we added, shows the caption of the report, which in this case is credit memo. And here you can see this is a field lookup, so it lookups the currency code of the report. So this was an overview of everything which is new in ForNAV version 2.
ForNAV is here to help you with reports. We are ready to talk. Are you?